everyone on your beautiful Saturday to share it with us on today. We're excited about introducing to you the top 10 things you want to know when buying a home. And we have the awesome Dan Ihara that is with us on today. I'm Michelle Jones, the buyer specialist with the Ihara team. I've had the awesome privilege to be in real estate for over 3 years, been on the beautiful island of Oahu all of my adult life. Got here when I was 19 years old, enjoyed the island, couldn't leave. Hey, who can leave paradise? And always wanted to serve people well. So the best way to serve is, of course, through real estate. So I am so excited to be a part of the Ihara team, which leads me to introduce to you who's going to be our expert today. He's awesome. You're going to learn so much, and that is Mr. Dan Ihara, the mastermind of the Ihara team. He has over 15 years of experience. He has over 1,100 transactions. He's been in the top 100 for at least the past, I would say, 13 years. So he's been doing an awesome job of serving our community, and is excellent in all that he does. I get to see the behind the scenes, so I'm telling you the truth, ma'am. So today you are in for a treat. And so I would like to give it over to Dan as we're just going to go over what's the top 10 things, and we're going to start off with our first one for today, which is the biggest question I always get from buyers is, how much can I afford? Especially if you're coming from different states.
Right, good question. You know, some people will go online and they'll just try to throw some numbers in and kind of get a rough idea. I'm not sure if that's really the best way to go about it. What we know is that in today's world, you want to be pre-approved. In fact, the Honolulu Board of Realtors, just was it last week or a couple weeks ago, Michelle? They now will not allow you to even see a home without being pre-approved. You got to be pre-qualified.
Yes.
Right. So they're limiting the people who walk in homes today. And they're doing that by getting them pre-approved. So if you don't have the financial ability to buy the property, you're not going to see it in the private showing because we don't have open houses today, right? So the world's pivoted, and this is number one thing: how much can I afford? Well, most people will make that decision based on a monthly basis, right? They don't look at it and say, hey, I want to buy an $800,000 house. They look at it as, okay, this is how much I can afford every month, right? And our goal is to make sure that they're comfortable. Our goal is to make sure that they understand and they're clear on what that number is. And we're going to talk about all the numbers that are involved in buying a home. But before we go further, I'd love to introduce you to an amazing young man. I can't young because he's much younger than me. I've known this gentleman, John Davis, for over a decade. He was with the title companies and with the lending firms in town. And we were fortunate to grab him. And now he's helping us with Oahu Home Loans. So John Davis, take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, we were both young at one time. Introduction.
Yes, sir.
It's always been a pleasure working with you. And I'm happy to be here today to present some information on the lending side of things. So
yeah.
Your rates are, yeah. Go ahead.
So how are the rates, John?
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
Just in case you were wondering, we were offering 3.25% with a little bit of discount points, 0.75 points. This was yesterday.
All right, I'm sorry. Try that one more time. I didn't hear it right.
3.25%, Dan.
Oh, wow.
3.25. I thought I heard 3.25%.
Yeah.
Where do you borrow money that low?
Historically low.
Yeah. So look at this graph we have here. So people are very curious about the pandemic's effect on lending, and here we see a historic low. This was last month. So,
yeah. When I graduated high school, John, people were paying 18%. Wow. And when I got into real estate, it first time dipped under 6% when I just started. Prior to that, it never got under 6%. And then where are we now? Oh my gosh, that's
I think
crazy. The cost of money.
Maybe against the law now, but if you look year on year, so last year the rate was about 4.5%. So if this year it's 3.25%, quarter, you're looking at a difference of over $50,000 more house you can buy this year versus last year.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. Oh, we had a question. Let's see. Kazu asked, will unemployment affect qualifications? Can we talk about what's happening in the market?
Right, we're reacting to it, and you can see the lender guidelines are changing in reaction to the different things that are happening as a result of the pandemic. Unemployment will definitely affect your ability to qualify. It's affecting other things too, if you're depending on what type of buyer you are. So, say you're an investor and you're looking towards rental income to qualify. That's being tightening because of the fact that rent forgiveness and unemployment trend in the country. This is a good example of why it's important to talk to a lender, give us a call to describe your situation, so find a fit for you as a lending product.
Good. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that go ahead.
I was going to say, as a buyer specialist, I know one of the biggest things a buyer is always asking me, why is the interest rate so important? What does the interest rate truly impact? So can you explain that down to a first-time buyer?
But thanks, Michelle. Just a 1% change in a mortgage rate, you can see on this chart here, the impact on the price of a home you can afford. You can see the higher payment, it's $137 a month for the same home. It costs $500. You can afford $500, which is $445 at the same payment, yeah, which is $1,910. So that's 11% difference in purchasing power.
Wow.
So that 1% change.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? 1% can impact your ability to purchase something up to 11% of that value. That's outrageous, right? And keep in mind, you're locking it in for 30 years, right? So when people buy in today's market or refinance in today's market, you're locking it in for 30 years. It's not going to get any higher than that. And that's what we call leverage. We talk about investing and we talk about how people build wealth, and that's a whole different class, but I'll leave you a little nugget. Basically, it's like if you bought a $100,000 asset of a stock, you'd have to pay $100,000 of it. Well, if you bought $100,000 of a piece of real estate, you can actually only put 25% down to qualify. You'll probably want to put a little bit more, but you're not putting in the $100,000 down. So that's what we call leverage. So this asset that you buy 5 years from now, 10 years from now, goes from $100,000 to $200,000, right? It grows and appreciates, but you still only put $25,000 down, right? And so that's what we call leverage of our wealth and leveraging your money, because you put very little in to grow that money. And then when we run these analyses with our clients, we basically ask them one question: how long does it take you to save that kind of money, right? Most people never do. It never does. But real estate is how we start building wealth, right, over time. So it's just really interesting.
Isn't that one of our seminars eventually, I believe, Building Wealth?
Yep.
Okay, excellent.
Yes, I think that's the next one. Yes. Oh, the reason is the wealthy invest in real estate. That's next week Saturday. So we want to get pre-approved, John. What does that look like? How painful is that?
It's not very painful at all. It's just a few things we need to arm you with a letter to go and have full confidence in shopping for a home, knowing what you're comfortable with making a payment with, and knowing that we can provide financing for your purchase. So just a standard list of documents here. This is the industry standard. It's also worth a phone call. Let's 20 minutes just to determine the plan. To find out the best fit for you. Everyone's situation is right, Dan?
Thanks. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, step number one in the whole process is getting pre-approved, using a local lender that's proven and trustworthy and knows what they're doing. Give us a call. We can connect you with John, and then we can get you pre-approved. Once we get you pre-approved, then we know where we want to top out in price. I mean, we don't want to go beyond this, right? And so when we do that, we want to say, okay, based on that number, next question is, where are we going to buy? Right? Where's that? And the only way to answer that is to find out more questions about you and your lifestyle. Where do you work? You know, where do you currently live? Where do the kids go to school? Where do they play sports? How do you spend your time, right? And what we want to do is, we know traffic has its own patterns, right? So when you look at the map here, you know, it just depends on the military likes Central because Schofield's right up here, right? It's very easy, but also so is the west side. If you're looking at investment properties, in the past, probably last 10 years or so, I believe that it was only in Metro Honolulu that you'll get the best returns. And I've found that actually there are pockets other places around the island, more on the Honolulu, Windward, and Central side, not as much on the Leeward side, right, as far as the investments are concerned. The other thing to consider if you're thinking of investments is if you're going to self-manage it or not, and if you're going to have to drive there for repairs or what have you. And then I think the biggest thing is traffic, right? So when people say, where do I want to live, it's really based on the traffic patterns. For folks who come into town and don't know much about the island, I do a quick class, and it's just really about, if you think of our island, there's a mountain range here called Ko'ola Mountains, right? And then on the north side of that, the Windward Coast. This side's more wet, more damp, a little bit darker. It's darker about 3:30. Here on the south side, it's in Metro Honolulu, it's a little bit more densely populated, a little bit more traffic, though it's a little warmer. Out here on the west side, it's very warm and very rural as you go further down the west coast, Leeward Coast. Central, a lot of that's really, most of that's Mililani, Wahiawa area, and also part of Waipahu as well. This area up here on the North Shore, if you don't have to come into town, those are great places to live. If you have to come into town, you're looking at probably about an hour's commute. I drive from here all the way up here almost every day to go surfing. But I go in the morning, right? So it's dark and nobody's out. I leave at 5 in the morning and I get in the water at 6. By the time I come back, there's hardly any traffic, right around 8. So yeah, so it just depends. If you like dry, then you want to be on this side. If you like cooler and wet, you probably want to be on this side. Right? People with allergies really do not want to be in the valleys because that's where the mold and mildew shows up more. Also, something really interesting to know about our island is we have trade winds. Trade winds go northeast to southwest, okay? And if they're going northeast to southwest, what that means is that's what the rain does as well. So it's cooler, more wet over here and drier the further out you go, okay? So if altitude does make a difference. So if you go up into the hills, any of the hills on the east side, also up Mililani, the temperature changes. A pilot once told me that 1,000 vertical feet changes the temperature by 4 degrees. So it does matter. If you like cool, then you want to probably be up on the hills. Okay.
Great information.
Next thing.
Thank you so much. So outside of location, the biggest thing people want to know is what type of home. When they see SF or CO or CPR, they don't know what all of that means. So can you explain to us the type of home that's available here on Oahu?
Sure. Well, obviously the entry level is typically going to be your condo, studio, 1 bedroom, could be a 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom, but it's a condo. So condos will have a maintenance fee, but so does a house, to be honest with you. We'll talk more about that later. There's a cost to holding the property that we'll talk about. So the condo is a really good entry point. If you're looking at a condo, you want to be mindful of the maintenance fee because that's the largest cost of holding the asset. Townhouses give you a little bit more space, sometimes a little bit more horizontal versus vertical. And then single-family homes. Single-family homes on the west side of the island, you could have single-family homes that are zero lot line. Zero lot line meaning your property goes up to the to the house next to you, right?
Okay.
It goes really literally up to the house next to you, and they give you a 5-foot easement for that guy to come on your property to clean his windows, right? That's zero lot line. There's also things called a CPR, a condominium property regime. Typically a couple units there. All of these townhouses and condos are CPRs, but single family could be a CPR as well, where they could either share a wall, or they could share a driveway, or some common or limited common elements within this development. You'll see them all over. You'll see a lot of them in town as well. Okay.
That was great. So you mentioned how condos have maintenance fees. Number 4 is the cost to own a property. So what does that look like?
Yeah, and this is really important when we're looking at buying a home. We've never done that or never owned one. Obviously, how would you know what you'd have to pay for? Well, number 1 is property tax. Property tax in Hawaii is fairly low. We're about a third of California right now. So our property tax is really low. Insurance, again, not bad, about $100 or so, depending on the size of the asset. Maintenance fees and the cost to maintain. Let's talk real quickly about that. Maintenance fees are when you have an association or a condo or a townhouse, you're going to have maintenance fees. That money goes to cover the common area elements. It could be from the driveway to the lights to the building, to the painting of the building, to the elevators, the roof. The most expensive parts of a condominium is to maintain. You'll notice is a lot of these older townhouses, they're going to paint, or condos, they paint the outside. That's very expensive. In particular, if they have spalling where the concrete's cracking, they have to be grinded down and painted. The other large element is an elevator. Elevators in large towers could be $1 million. It could be very, very expensive. Common area elements also could be air conditioning in the common area. It could be the pool deck, parking, security, things like that. That's what you're paying for in the common area maintenance fees. Along with maintenance fees in condos, they'll typically have sewer water, right? They'll pay your sewer water. Where a single family home, you're paying that separately. Right? On a home, the cost to maintain, we're going to go into all of that, but basically everything you see here is a cost to maintain a house, right? But maintenance can be in a condo, which you got to pay, $300 to $500, or some of them are $1,000 a month, and that goes into a pot that they scheduled to pay for painting and doing all this other stuff, right? Well, if your house, guess what? That's on your own. You don't have to pay the maintenance fees, but guess what? You kind of are. And it's more of a lump sum. When you have to paint the house, who's going to paint it? Well, that's going to be you. If your roof needs to be fixed, well, that's going to be you too. If you need to upgrade the electrical, yep, that's you. Plumbing, yep, that's you. So there is a cost to maintain a home, and we want to know what that is prior to even buying it, and we do that through our due diligence, right? And we'll talk more about that later. Sewer and water, obviously, electricity, and cable, internet, and gas if your property has gas or piped in, right?
Great information. So when I'm always showing property to clients, they sometimes like to look at the fixtures and the pretty kitchens, but what are some of the major assets of a home that when you're looking that you should be taking most particular interest in?
Yeah, this is the 4 largest, probably the most expensive parts of a home that you're going to have to deal with should they fail. Roof, for example, depending on how big that roof is and depending on what kind of roof you have, it can be as low as maybe $10,000 to as high as $20,000 or $30,000 to $50,000. Could be $100,000. The standing seam roofs, those are really expensive. Asphalt shingle is going to be a little less expensive, that type of thing. Electrical. So the electrical, it comes in from the street. If you're talking about a single family home, it comes in from the street. Then it has a weather mast, and then it comes into the house. It goes to the main shutoff. After the shutoff, it goes to a distribution panel like you see on the right there. That's a more modern distribution panel. Well, when you're doing that, you're going to need a permit. So you're going to have to plan for this. You're going to have an electrician do it if you want to do it properly. And then the question is, if it's old, you might have to do the outlets, the switches, and all the light fixtures, right? So how do you do that, right? Well, if you're going to rerun the entire wires in the home, and you're talking about a 1950s style home like I have, Koenig ceilings, right? Single wall construction, old homes. What many people will do if they want to keep the structure is they'll just take the ceiling down. They're not going to take it down anyway, right? Because if you take the ceiling down, it's easier to run the electrical. So that'll save you some cost, because a lot of the cost is in the labor, right? And then the electrical, typically, we've done this many times before, where we'll redo the entire wiring of the house, and then pull the ceilings down and put some nice can lighting in there. Then plumbing. So plumbing is interesting. When people talk about plumbing, it's very vague, and you can't be really vague with plumbing. So there's two components in plumbing. One is your waste line, and the other is your water line, right? So your water line is your supply line that comes to the house, comes in from the street, from the board of water supply. There'll be a shutoff valve there, and after that, it'll run into the house, right? It'll have a water regulator as well as a shutoff valve. So you'll want to know what those functions are and how to use them. Regulator determines, can set the pressure, water regulator pressure to the home. You don't want it too high and you don't want it too low, right? So that's the water line. Now the water line, old homes are galvanized, right? Newer homes, or if they've been updated, it's copper, or they use the plastic piping now out on the west side. Very common. So having to rerun the plumbing could be problematic if you're on a slab, right? Because then where's your water line going to go? In older homes, sometimes they put it in the roof, in the attic, right? It's easier to run the plumbing. That's problematic because it's hot up there. Okay, so
Yes.
your cold water, it takes a long time to get cold on a hot day, right? So it just, we've seen so many things. Sorry. So that's the water line. And what you want is, there's two types, right? Copper and galvanized, and you have to know the difference between the two. It's simple to know. The copper is a little bit thinner, and it looks like a penny. It looks like copper, right? And when it gets old, it oxidizes and it kind of turns green on the outside. Well, the galvanized is more gray, right? It looks like steel, and that does rust as well. Now, galvanized is not good, because on the inside of that pipe, because it's galvanized, it's going to rust. So we've gone to old homes that maybe somebody hasn't been in for a number of months. We go and we turn the water on, and it's brown. Well, it's brown because all the rust that was sitting in the pipe is now coming out. Okay, so on old homes, just be mindful of that. On the waistline, old homes, seems like I'm old. I'm always talking about old stuff. Old homes, they built a long time ago, right? 1950s, right? Hey, I'm still kind of young, right? 60s. But yeah, if you were built 50 years or older, what we recommend you do is you scope the line, and that's a camera that goes in through the waistline, so you can see the interior structure of the waistline. Where's the waistline normally located? Under the ground. How are you going to see that? You can't unless you scope it, okay? It's kind of like a colonoscopy. It's pretty ugly. I've seen a lot of them. It's not a pretty sight. The funniest was right down the street from my house in Kehala. The scope went down. Tiffany was there too. We were looking at the camera, and there was this cute little mouse sitting right in the middle of the waistline with big ears, right? It was hilarious. Anyways, sorry. So that's the waistline. You want to scope that, yeah. That could be very expensive. It could be very expensive if you got to trench your garage to get to the waistline. Yeah, that's a lot of money because the concrete's expensive. The other is foundation, right? If you have sediment issues, if you can solve it, not a big deal, right? If it's something that's problematic for the area, there are a number of areas in our island that are notorious for movement of land. Those are the areas we're going to want to avoid, right? And there's many valleys in our island have that area of settlement, right? So yeah, we'll be mindful when you're looking at homes. We're going to explain to you that, you know, that beautiful lot you see over there? It's a gorgeous, nice lot. How come there's no house there? Because it's been condemned back in 1965, and the state didn't allow another house to be there. Yeah. Anyways, that's why that is. Okay.
Thank you for being such a wealth of knowledge. So if I was a first-time buyer, I'd be so overwhelmed. Like, how do I make sure that I don't get a property like that? What do you do for your real estate company, our team, to ensure that we help our clients in these areas?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's based on our experience. We know what to look for, right? So we're going to look for it, and we're going to see it before we put in the offer. I have been to so many home inspections.
Takes a lot of time that way.
We have over 1,000 transactions. Yeah, we kind of know what to look for, and hopefully we can find most of the red flags that are out there, right? The major ones. We also know how much things cost to fix, right? Generally speaking, right? And that's kind of important to know, right? Is it worth going forward or not based on having to remedy something?
And that has been so helpful. We've saved clients a lot of time and money by making sure we know those things. So you've broken down a lot of the major assets. So what are some of the improvements to consider, especially when you're looking at increasing the value in a property?
Yeah, well, so most people are looking at a home and they say, well, I don't like this and I don't like that and I don't like this and I don't like that. And they're right. Some of it's really ugly. I agree. So what if you could fix it, right? What if you could change it? What if you could make it exactly what you wanted to? Well, we have a whole list of vendors and contractors. These are some examples of some work that we did. I think, is that our company? Oh, is that Ihara? I think that's Ihara. Yeah. This is one of the properties we did with our contractor, fixing up kitchens and bathrooms, and paint and flooring, and windows and appliances. We now currently have 4 clients, I believe 3 or 4 clients now that we're going to start shooting videos. So we're going to also post this information up for everyone to see what we do. It starts really a strategy on what things we should fix, and then what process it'll go through. What happens first, second, and third? How much does it cost, right? And what should I do? Maybe what should I maybe put off for later? And each one of these, they can be expensive. Kitchens, baths, paint, flooring, windows, appliances. Yeah, that adds up over time.
Oh, yeah.
Though if you have good vendors, it doesn't have to be that bad.
So now that I bring all of those, okay, I understand my assets, the things, the big ticket items, that's the most important to know. And now I know that, okay, I don't have to look at a turnkey or excellent condition, maybe want to save some money. But how do I determine that as a first-time home buyer? What conditions are acceptable to me? How does that kind of work out where I can get the most for my money?
Good question. So this is something that everybody goes through, right? Almost every buyer has this process. And we have to weigh out the condition that I want versus the price I'm willing to pay for it versus maybe there's something I like, and it's cheap enough, but I need to fix it, right? And so there's this game that you have to play in your mind on what condition really am I willing to accept, right? What am I comfortable with? Right? And so as you can see, as you go from tear down, poor, fair, average, above average, and excellent, by the way, those are very subjective terms that the listing agent puts on the property, right? Well, we all know that the closer you get to excellent, the more expensive it is, right? Typically, within a region. And then also, the more expensive it is, the nicer it is, the more expensive it is, but also the less work you'd have to do to renovate it, right? Would you agree?
Yes.
Flip it on the other side, maybe I'm willing to take something, maybe not excellent, maybe average. What if I took an average property in a good neighborhood? Now here's something that, one of the biggest tips that you want to leave today with is, you can change the house, you can't change the neighborhood.
Oh, that's so great.
Sounds logical, right? You can change the house, you can't change the neighborhood.
Yes, write that one down.
We can change houses all day long. Yeah, right? I mean, You find the right neighborhood or the right building, we can gut that inside and help you walk you through that process. And just connect you with our vendors. We'll walk you through what we would recommend you do and kind of guide you through that process. Right? That's just an added service that we provide just because we love doing it, and it's an added service people appreciate. Yeah, so this is a chart that we want to start really thinking about before we get out on the road. What am I willing to accept? And one of the things that our clients appreciate is seeing other projects from other clients or ourselves that we've done, that we took it from before and we took it to the after, and they say it cost this much, would you be willing to do that? And we say, yeah, absolutely. Right? And so we have right now 3 projects we're going to start videoing. We're going to take the before, we're going to talk about strategy, we're going to show you the estimate, we're going to show you the finished product, and then show you what it would look like at the end. Okay? And that is.
And thank you so much, because I know you're the mastermind of this chart. Thank you for taking all that was in your brain and putting it into something visual for us. That is so awesome. Of how you created that for us. So when I'm looking as a first-time home buyer, what are some of the features that are important to me? I know that's one of the first topics that we bring up in our buyer's presentation meeting. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the first question is, where, right? Where do you want to be, right? Your location. You got to figure out. One of the first questions, how far east and how far west do you want to go? Or do you like the windward side or the central or north shore or west, whatever it is? What areas are most important to you? Then we drill into the property itself, the unit, the house, how many bedrooms and bath. What's really helpful, if you could take a piece of paper and on the left side put need, on the right side put want.
Yes.
And then put these features down and really get clear and clarity to, because what most buyers will do is they get them mixed up, right? It's easy to get mixed up. They all get mixed up. Right? So what you want to do is bring some clarity to it and say, is that a need or is that a want, right? Do I really need that? Or is it kind of, I'm okay not, So number of bedrooms, number of baths, parking. So some people say, well, I need 2 parking and I'm looking for a 1-bedroom condo. Well, there's not that many of those around. A couple of unicorns here and there. Right? And not many 1-bedrooms have 2 parking. So the next question is, well, what if you found a building that had street parking? So that might be okay. Right? So things like that to consider. Security. Security comes in the form of the building or the or the parking, right? Or a secured neighborhood like Hawaii Loa or Wailaiki. And then laundry. If you're entry level in a condo, are you looking at a community laundry, or do you have to have it in your unit or not? The types of flooring, many of the older ones have carpet. Today's buyers, typically we're finding they like waterproof vinyl plank flooring, which is low maintenance and looks really good. Plus, because so many people have allergies today, we don't see as much carpet going down. Carpet is much cheaper to install though, just know that. It's again based on labor. Then other amenities, what's important to you? Do I have to have a swimming pool or a gym? We had a guy from Texas. He was probably 75 years old, but he swims a lot. And he said, I got to have an Olympic-sized pool. So I think we got him at Keauhou. Yeah, so he's got an Olympic-sized pool. Yeah. So whatever's important is what we'll do.
So quick question on that, and this is one thing I always tell first-time home buyers, that everyone that is buying, if you're married or partners, if you're going joint, how important is it for everyone to be on the same page and understanding what's a want for another and what's a need for another? So there's a big difference. Can you expound on that, and how can we make it easier for that first-time buyer?
Good question, Michelle. That's so common, right? Like our spouses, we always think alike, right? Totally, right? No, yeah, it doesn't work that way. Trust me, just speaking from experience. Anyways, but yeah, that sheet of needs and wants is so helpful, because if you get on one page, guess what? you're going to be on the same page. So just write it down. That's the simplest way.
So
Gary Keller says this.
right.
Yeah. You can write it independently and then compare the two and say, okay, how are we going to make this work here? And then get it on one page, right? So
Excellent.
that's a fun process, guys. It's so fun.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right. So our number 8 tip is understanding the buying process. How do I go about it? What's our step?
Yeah,
So we have
like you said earlier, the first step is
first one.
getting pre-approved, right? John's going to help you get pre-approved. We're going to get the number. If somebody says, well, the question we're going to ask you is, at what price do you want to top out, right? Where do you want to top out at? So if somebody says, $350, we're probably going to search up to 4. And the reason for that is something in the 4s today might come down to $350 later, right? Wouldn't you want to have that information, right?
That's good.
So again, keep in mind that the search parameters that we have are going to be broad enough so that we don't miss anything, right? If you go too narrow, you might miss something. The other thing that I've found over the 15 years of helping thousands of people is that people change their minds. Like, how could they, right? People change their minds all the time. I say, I want this, but then they find out they bought that. I go, okay, whatever works. The reason why that is as you go through the buying process, what's going to happen is you're going to learn some things. You're going to learn some things about yourself. You're going to learn some things about what you want, what you need, what you want, right? And so you're going to bring clarity. It's a self-discovery process that you're going to go through. That's fun that we get to be part of as through this journey is helping you self-discover what's most important to you. Right? But we always want to start broad. So know that when you get this thing once or twice a day, not all of them are going to be that interesting. You just don't want to miss something, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at it online, and then we're going to select a day and time to go look at it in private showings. We do need a pre-approval letter. We have to make sure that that's available because if the agent asks us, we have to provide it to them. And then we're going to do the private showings. With COVID, we can show properties like it was prior to COVID. We just can't have group open houses. Yeah. So not much has changed in that realm, so not to worry. And then we're going to submit the offer and negotiate through the escrow process. There's a whole process that we go through that's submitting the offer that's really important in that to help you win, right? Help you beat the competition.
Like that. Now, I know we are not real estate genies. We can't say exactly what's going to happen in the future. But we know history always repeats itself. So number 9 tip that we want to offer them, Dan, is what will future values look like? And I love this chart. It's one of my favorite charts for you to explain.
Yeah, this is true data from 1987. So data is, you can't dispute it, right? These are median sale prices. Imagine in 87, it was $165,000 and it went up to what, $350 in just 4 years. Crazy amount of appreciation. What happened in 1990 is it peaked out and it dropped, right? And it continued to drop. And this recession here, it took 12 years to get back to the peak value. From 1990, it took to 2002 to get back to the same values. So real estate goes into cycles. And this was a 12-year recession just to get back to the norm. Now, what happened? Well, from 2000 to 2007, we saw another growth. This was outrageous, right? This asset, if you bought something in 2000 and sold in 2007, that asset grew 15, 20, 35% every year. It's crazy how much real estate appreciated. Well, what happened after the peak of 2007? Well, we know what happens after every peak. What happens? It declines. And it took to 2014 to get back to the same value. So this recession was 7 years. This one, 12 years. We peaked out, I believe it was early of January of 2019, and that was the first time we saw a decline in values from 2019, the first time in 10 years. So This expansion was 10 years. which is really rare. It usually goes 7, 8, maybe up to 10. This was the largest expansion we've ever seen. We knew the shift was coming. We knew that values were going to dip even before COVID, right? Even before COVID. Well, what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen? Why don't you put in your chat box, what do you think is going to happen to prices? Going up or going down? This is a test. No, just joking. Yeah, likely going down. Yeah, likely going down. Well, I would say more than likely. You know, I surf a lot, and I go down to Waikiki and go down at night, and you look at the hotels, and it's all dark. I surfed this morning, and not a single airplane in the sky.
Yeah.
And we're at a 37% unemployment rate today. So, yeah, we haven't felt the impact of a recession yet. And we won't probably feel it for a number of months. See, for those who have loans and have jobs, there's not a problem, right? If the problem comes when those who have a mortgage had maybe 1 or 2 jobs just to make ends meet, and they're in the hospitality industry, right? Hotels, restaurants, bars. They're only now coming back, but many of them won't. My son's restaurant, top of Waikiki, they shut down. They shut down. Because even if they were to open today, they can only work at 25% capacity. Well, their model doesn't allow you to survive at 25% capacity. They have to turn volume. So what we're going to start seeing is more and more fallout in businesses. I talked to another friend of mine today in the water. Funny, I see all my friends in the water. Commercial realtor. And he said, yeah, the defaults are already happening. People have walked away from their properties in the commercial world. And there's no crystal ball on that one that's going to help. It's going to impact residential real estate as well. So we tell people, if you can find a good deal, be ready, be prepared, and go get it. Now, mainly because you're probably going to hold on to that for a while, right? If you're gonna try to buy and flip, I'd probably wait. If you're gonna buy to hold on for a while, it's not a bad time. Yeah, it's the best time because of the interest rates, right? Never before have we seen these interest rates this low. Fortunately, we think the interest rates will stay pretty good for this year at least, right? Who knows what happens after election and everything else. So yeah, my crystal ball broke on the way over here. So basically what we're saying, if you're thinking of buying, just be ready, and you'll know a good deal. We'll show you the good deal based on what we believe, what had sold in the past and what we think is going to happen in the future. Yeah.
We have a good
asked about.
We have a question here, and it says, what about loan credit qualifications in a recession? JD?
Yeah. Take that one. It's still, since the last downturn in the economy, lending guidelines have improved to such a point where good credit and good stable employment, you're going to get a great loan. Things are tightening a little bit, but that's on the outset of things. Again, if you rely on rental income, that's going to be greatly tightened. There may be, if you have lower credit, you may not have access to as wide a range of products. So things are evolving, and as things change, the lenders are adapting to the changing marketplace.
Yeah, if a buyer has cash, and they can pull equity out of their property, home equity line of credit, use that, put as much cash down, you become a stronger buyer, right? And the stronger buyers typically get the best deals. Right? In this market with the guidelines tightening, not everybody's going to be able to buy, right? In particular in the investment world, minimum is 25% down, but it actually might end up being more than that at some point, right? Based on the numbers. So cash is king, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're wrapping up.
Yes, we're in our last 10 minutes, and we are on 10 minutes and number 10. how should I hold the property? So can you explain a vest title?
Yeah, so if you're a single person, you can hold a tenant in several feet, just yourself, right? If you have two or more people, and you can have equal or even unequal interests, you can have tenants in common, right? So I have a number of properties that we own and tenants in common with some other people, good friends of ours that we have in tenants in common. There's also joint tenancy, two or more people with equal and indivisible right of survivorship. When one passes away, the other one gets it, right? Tenants by entirety, two or more people, equal and indivisible. It does have a right of survivorship, also has creditor protection, meaning if my wife and I have tenants by entirety, somebody comes after me, they can't go after her asset, right? But it's only for if you're married and civil union or reciprocal beneficiaries. And then most common is a tenancy by entirety in a trust, right? So it's a joint trust or separate trust. This depends on your setup. Same thing, equal and indivisible, and it has the right of survivorship. So if I pass away, it goes straight to my wife. It protects her or mine, depending on who gets sued. And again, it's only for married couples, civil union partners, and reciprocal beneficiaries. So we recommend typically you're going to put it in a trust. That's the safest way to protect it from probate. Should you unfortunately leave us on this. So really important, this is like the last thing that you'd really have to do to buy a home, is just figure out how you're going to hold title. And, you know, if it's just you or you and your spouse, it's pretty simple, right? It gets more complicated when you have huis and groups of people, though.
Great. Well,
so
thank you.
In closing up, we can start thinking about some questions you can put in the chat box here. 15 years ago, started as a realtor in 2005. Worked real hard. By 2007, we got into the top 100. That was just my wife and I, Julie. She started the year after me. We have a large team now of 28 of us, I believe. Buyer's agent specialists, listing specialists, listing managers, marketing team. We've got a large organization. And then 10 years ago, we started a company called Senior Move Managers. And the goal there was to help older adults who are transitioning, selling their house, moving to a retirement community, but they got stuck with their stuff, right? They had too much stuff. Does anybody know anybody with too much stuff? You can just raise your hand. Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny because we started doing that, and we had an 85-year-old man say, "I'm not a senior. Can you help me?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And we had a UH professor saying, "Well, I'm not going to move. Can you help me?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So we started Declutter Hawaii. It's the same company, but some people almost felt offended by calling it Senior Move Managers. I didn't get that. I thought it was so gentle. And then we started High Property Management, which is a property management firm that we took a model out of. So we're investors. We started investing a number of years ago, but I took a poll. I'm in Gary Keller's top 100, so I took a poll of the top 100 agents around the country, and a very scientific poll. I asked them, if I give you $100,000, how much net operating income would I have? And I found one of the best states at the time was Texas. Right? Texas didn't have any income tax. A lot of companies were growing there. So about almost 5 years ago, we bought 2 properties in Texas. One for $135,000. We put 25% down. One for $150,000. We really spurged on that one. These are older 1978 homes, brick homes, 3 bedroom, 2 bath homes, but we only put 25% down. Well, those properties are now worth over $200,000, $220,000 on both of those cases. So each one has gained, I'd say, 70 to almost $100,000, right, in a matter of 4 years each. But yet we only put 25% down. So what's 25% of 150? Was that 38,000 or something like that? Yeah, we put $38,000 down to gain $100,000, and that's just in 5 years, right? That's just 2 little examples. Well, and in addition to that, we had cash flow every month, right? So with positive cash flow, not a lot, maybe $300, $400, $500 each, right? But I'm not doing anything for it. It just shows up, right? How can that be a bad thing? But the reason why I'm telling you this story, and I forgot why I was telling the story, is because we went to Texas, and before we bought any real estate, I said to our realtor there, show me, and I want to meet the property manager who's going to manage my assets. So we met him, and it was kind of funny because it was not part of Keller Williams. It was a Century 21 outlet, and it was this old house on the side of this road, right, in Texas. You know, there's a lot of these businesses like on the side of the road. So we go in, and this older guy is there, and he brings his older brother guy. He's older than him. I go, it smells like cigarette in there. It was like 1960s carpet. I told my business partner, Ken, I go, I think we made a mistake. Anyways, we're here. Let's just talk to these guys. Well, we talked to them, and they told us everything we did, and I was blown away. It's like, what system is this? This is amazing. So we took their model, and we brought it to Hawaii. Basically, if you have a property, and the way we work is once you sign the agreement, we work together, we go out and find the tenant, right? So we do the tenant pays a application fee, which allows us to do a criminal check, a background check, a national credit check as well. And then obviously we Google them and we do that. We look at their repayment history because that's a good indicator that they're going to pay you, right? That's kind of important, right? So let's say they're good, everything's fine. And then in the same portal, they have access to a tenant portal side of it. You have access to the owner portal side of it. They have, if there's a problem, they have to take a picture or video and they put it on there. So you can see what's wrong versus somebody saying, hey, my sink's leaking. Like, where's it leaking from? Is it leaking from the top, from the bottom, from the hot, from the cold, from the P-trap, is it drain? You know, where's it leaking from, right? You're going to see that. And so you can make good decisions. Our property management firm will then manage that and take care of and solve that problem for you up to a certain dollar amount. After a certain dollar amount, we'll call you and say, hey, here's the solution to the problem you have. Would you like us to fix it? Right? And so we take care of all that. And the tenant pays online directly, and you get that payment within 5 days of the beginning of the month. No longer are you standing in line waiting for a cashier's check or a check coming in the mail to drop out of bank. It doesn't happen. So it's a portal system that's probably one of the best in the industry that we've been using for the last 4 years. I have about 43 properties there. And then we built Stage Hawaii because staging is really expensive. Staging could run you $3,000 to $5,000. And we believe in staging because we know that today's world, people shop on their cell phones, right? They're shopping
Exactly, yes.
on their cell phones, on the iPad. What are they looking at? They're looking at photos. So we believe so heavily into it that we invested in it, and now we provide that same level of service at a fraction of the cost. No longer are they paying $3,000 to $5,000; they're paying $1,000 to $2,000 for the similar type of staging because we can keep our costs down. Right, just an added service. And then lastly, we built Silver Spoons, which is a nonprofit designed to take care of our kupuna in Hawaii who cannot take care of themselves. All of these companies, the profit from here, a portion of it goes in to serve our kupuna, right, to take care of them. Oh, gosh, we're in week 2, Michelle. We only got 2 more weeks left.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we have 2 amazing ones coming up. I'm excited about those as well.
Yeah. So next Thursday, let's see, the 21st, how do I know when it's time to sell? We'll talk about that. And then the week after that is building wealth through a 1031 exchange. So if you have an investment property and you're thinking, is it performing at its peak performance? We can help you analyze that. We'll do an asset performance test. If you're thinking of, well, how do I create a legacy with my property? We can help you with that. I just had a really good call last night with a client of ours that we're helping her create a legacy for her daughter because her daughter needs some help. And then next Saturday is building wealth by investing in real estate. We'll talk about deeper dive into the components of investing. And then your rights in buying a home, that one's you can't miss that one. If you're thinking of buying a home, if you miss everything, just don't miss that one.
Yeah.
And don't be late to class, I just said. Okay, and wrapping up, real simple, ladies and gentlemen, we run a number of businesses with the same mission. Really, is just to honor God by serving others with the highest level of competency, care, and compassion with uncompromising integrity. These are our agents. And as we wrap up, a couple things. If you need or want a free strategy session, we want to talk about, okay, what are my next steps, or can you help me create a plan to move forward? Just put in the chat box you want to, and we'll schedule time to get on one of these calls. Or, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are having face-to-face meetings. Okay, we are having face-to-face meetings. We go to the office, we can meet people. It's okay. But if you're sensitive to that, we can do a Zoom like this. We do these all day as well. Whatever your pleasure. If we would also appreciate your feedback. So that long link there is a link to let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. And Carrie, thanks, Carrie, for putting that. If you can just click in the chat box, that form, it's already there. Don't have to type in all that words. Click on that link, please. And then let us know what you think. We would really, really appreciate some feedback. Again, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're kind of rookies at this. COVID just happened, and we're trying to figure it out, and nobody's doing this, and we're just failing forward. So my apologies. We're doing our best. And then we have a bunch of upcoming webinars. We call them webinars, by the way. Seminars on a web, webinars, kind of like lunch and breakfast called brunch. Well, these are webinars. So yeah, if you're looking for the rest of them, if you want to share them with your family and friends. Also, we're going to record them for the ones that have passed and allow you to share them as well with your family and friends. And then we also do virtual walkthroughs every Sunday, our open houses. And then also we have a recorded ones as well for every single one of our listings. Well, you'll see that there. It's kind of cool. It's a whole new world for us all. And we'd love your feedback. So please let us know how we're doing and what we could do for you. All right, Michelle, do we have any questions?
I don't see any questions at this time. Is there any questions that we may have missed? But I don't see any questions. So we are hopeful that it was very informative, that we answered all your questions on today. We look forward to you joining our other webinars that are available to you, and we look forward to serving you in the future. So thank you so much for attending today. Continue to enjoy your Saturday.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you. Yeah, share that with your family and friends. We look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Yes.